What is a single scene, a moment from one of your past films that you would love to see bumped up with an R rating?
It's funny, all my movies get an R rating when I first show them.
Really?
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
We were just talking, we haven't seen you in person since Glass. Everything else has been
I know,
virtual
I
since
just
then.
did this tour of Europe. I hadn't been there in 5 years,
That's
so it's
crazy.
wild.
This is my first time in New York since the pandemic.
You were kidding?
Yeah, we did the Quiet Place 2 junket in March of 2020, and we had to hold on to those interviews for like a year and a half. I fucking love this movie, man.
Thanks.
I love it so much. I do love that as a storyteller, this is only the second time you've given yourself the freedom of an R rating. And I know, like, in your career, you haven't really needed it in past films, but just to have fun for a moment, what is a single scene, a moment from one of your past films that you would love to see bumped up with an R rating?
It's funny, all my movies get an R rating when I first show them
Really?
to the board. Every single one of them gets an R rating. But most of them, it's about the intensity of a moment. It's not anything graphic. And I always tell the ratings board, don't penalize me for execution. I always say the same thing. Don't penalize me. They said, this is just too intense. This is too intense. And I end up having to like calibrate back like a sound effect. And most of the time, believe it or not, it's a sound effect that gets me back to PG-13 because I'm using sound in ways you probably aren't aware of.
Yeah.
And so you're feeling like, it's visceral. And so as I tack back on that, it's very powerful thing, sound. And as I tack back on that, it goes from R to PG-13, it's amazing.
Do you remember what you had to cut from Sixth Sense to get the PG-13? Was that given an R?
I can't remember that one, but I do remember The Village, where there's a moment where a very important character is getting stabbed.
Yes.
And the camera pans off as this event's happening, and the sound effects continue and worsen as you're panning away and looking at the wall. And that was the thing that the board said is way too violent. So I just took out the sound effects of the stabbing there, and it went back to PG-13.
Holy hell, that's amazing. Oh my God. I love this so much of this movie comes down to a choice. These characters have to make a choice, but as the storyteller, as the writer, you have to make the choices for your characters. You decide what they do or don't do. What is the hardest choice you've had to make on behalf of one of your characters?
Wow, I'm continually fascinated by the idea of that what I want for the story and what the story wants are two slightly different things. And so there's movies that I realize retrospectively, it's almost like a broken up relationship or something like that. Sometimes you get clarity and go back, God, why did I act that way in that relationship? If I just had listened to her and I did this, she was right about that. Sometimes I feel that about the movie. God, it was telling me something, and only after I've left the relationship do I hear what it was telling me. And in this case, there in Knock at the Cabin, I was gently moving it, and there's one particular moment, but I can't talk about it on camera. But maybe you and I.
This is a very difficult movie to do a junket for, by the way. All my questions, I would start writing something and be like, shit, I can't do that.
But on camera, we'll go to have beers, and I can tell you what this moment was. I wanted it to be this, and then it kept breathing back. Hey, I want the movie to change on this emotion, and then I finally, I was resisting it, and I finally said, okay, I know what you want, and I gave it to it, and then you see it.
Oh my God. I'm going to ask a bit of an off-the-wall question before coming back to the film. I'm working on a tribute piece to the great John Williams because he's about to retire from scoring films. I know you're a huge Raiders fan, and I was just wondering if you could just, as a filmmaker, if you could just talk to me about the significance of what his work means to you and your favorite John Williams score.
I would say, he's the Michael Jordan of composers, and he is the greatest because I think there's two ways to compose. There's kind of atmospheric scoring, and then there's kind of melody scoring, theme scoring. And his themes, he's literally writing another story. When you write a theme, you're writing another script in musical notes, a story, on top of the written story and the one that's performed. And that's very hard to do. Normally a melody will get in the way, but his melodies not only enhance what the movies that Steven made underneath and the performers that they did, but they're essential to the final product. It's almost like he put a brilliant, script on top of a brilliant script. I mean, it's really, I can't say enough how much John Williams is a genius, and his melodies forever, because music's so primal. He taught us what fear is in the water, or what adventure means, or what wonder with regard to the skies mean, and he's actually changed our emotional makeup as human beings. I'm not overstating it, at least for me. He has defined all those things: wonder and fear and adventure.
Dude, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for answering that. But I just want to say, like, they're giving me the rap. So many of the greatest cinematic experiences of my life have been the results of your work and you putting pen to paper. And dude, I say this at the end of every interview, but I just want to say thank you for giving me some, like, just genuinely the greatest movie-going experiences of my life, man. And I fucking love this movie.
Thank you, brother. It means so much, and it means, like, so the next movie, I have to give you everything, like, that's what it means to me when you say that.
So you're gonna put me in it, right?
Yes,
That's it.
exactly.
I know you always put Yuki Washington in, but it's time.
I'm on it. I'm on
in.
it.
All right, man. All right, dude. Seriously, thank you
care.
so much. Man. I really appreciate you. Good
Thanks,
to see
brother.
you.
Take care.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.